Awooga.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Dice Dogs. It's been a while and I apologize for the quality of my voice right now. I am slightly sick, I think. Just a little bit, just a wee bit. But in any case, hi guys, it's been a while. We left off on quite the cliffhanger, if you'll remember.
Yes, we did, Connor. We fucking did. You denied me.
With that in mind, does anybody want to give me a quick recap of what took place last game? Oh, and before that, do I have any housekeeping? Did anybody have a sponsor that they're hiding from me? That's unfortunate. All right.
It's tucked away somewhere.
It's never gonna happen.
Our newest sponsor, Dollar Shave Club. Give you the cleanest shit. No.
I feel like Matt Mercer doing sponsors for like the best terrain sets in like Dungeons and Dragons is a sharp contrast to our possibly getting a sponsor from Dollar Shave Club.
I mean, okay, look. You and I both have facial hair, so it's possible. It's possible.
I can grow facial hair if you want someone else in the game. Just give me a few.
Why not? You know.
All right.
See, that way, that's how we'll get Dollar Shave Club to notice, and then they'll sponsor us.
First bearded woman.
Vinn, since I feel like you've been taking voracious notes since the very beginning of Dice Dogs, why don't you take it away, my boy? My sweet baby boy.
Do not say that to me. So, last we left off, I believe we had just turned level 5. Talnaris didn't want to dock. The Clovis Conclave is the enemy of the pirates, so we got in some rowboats, and 2 of the pirates took us to port. Talnaris tossed Nox a bag of 800 gold, and I have it noted here that we are friends of the Stormwolf. Back on the boat, as we were docking, a large figure was with Talnaris on the ship that had been hiding, and I'm presuming from Osla. They did have a conversation about her not being ready, a giant purple tiefling. But Talnaris is sure she'll find out, but it's not time. But we don't exactly know who he is, though we all have a suspicion. We docked. There was a human man who got our names, and Osla called herself Silver instead of her birth name. He recognized Nox, but she denied the recognition. We paid a 5 gold toll each. I have here that this is a city of industry and science, metal and temples. There's a temple to the Allhammer here. There's 4 spheres, eclectic hole, and Oslo wanted to trick some people out of money. Gesh did not want to pick pockets. There was a rich, drunk halfling passing by, but we did nothing about that. So Oslo started a fake arm wrestling tournament where Gesh was supposed to be all hyped up, and we did get him all gussied up in a disguise of sorts. We disguised him as the Storm. He did beat one big drow man in a arm wrestling match. The goal was originally to have him get super hyped up and then arm wrestle Fenkin and lose to Fenkin, so everybody would lose all their gold. But instead, Karn came out of nowhere with a new arm. He's a captain now of the Harbor Sphere. He took us to a clothing store with a batshit crazy lady and asked to meet us for dinner later. We met Bertha. She gave Fenkin a full makeover. Nox was shopping for hats. Dhuur'in got a very priest-like vestment for free. She decided that he should just have it. Bertha adored Princess, and he got a free tuxedo, and Nilo got a collar. And when we left off, her shipment of buttons had just arrived. Turns out it was Boorgub delivering these buttons, and he dropped them when he saw it.
Indeed. And that is exactly where we are going to pick up today.
Oh, gee.
So, as the rain patters outside upon the wood of this particular shop that the shepherds currently find themselves within, the air is quiet and silent, and all is still, as Boorgub Halfheart, cleric of the Allhammer, breathed in the heavy working leathers that he is familiar in, along with his apron and a hood now wetted by the falling rain of the coast, stands before you in shock and awe. But his eyes, welling with tears, are fixed on one Osla Highhill, and once again he asks, "Miss Osla?"
Sorry, I've been waiting for this for like 3 weeks. Oz is she's sort of like in the middle of like maybe joking about, she's poking fun at Fenkin because obviously he came down looking like a little prince and everything. So she's half in that, and she doesn't realise until she really like hears the buttons hit the ground. And it's sort of like a double take. She doesn't register at first, and at first she thinks he's someone, and then her eyes fix on him. And there's a very pregnant pause before everyone just hears, and she just shoots forwards and throws her arms around him, trying to knock him down as she goes.
Oh shit. Okay, so you're tackling him essentially.
I'm practically tackling him, yeah.
Strength check.
Is this a D20? It is. What's my strength again? I'm a barbarian. It should be like massive, but okay. Yeah, that's a 21.
Okay.
Good night.
Boorgub stands no chance as you barrel into the poor goblin, taking him down to the ground completely. The box kicked up and buttons kind of flying everywhere as you just slam into him, and he gets out a before he's like taken to the ground. And you guys kind of just like slam onto the wood and just kind of like skid a few feet.
Also, just sort of like shocked laughing, and her arm seems like tighten stronger around his shoulders when she gets a hold of it, and she's like, oh my god,
Gesh, if I remember, you were the one who opened the door, so you would be closest to them. As you see Osla hugging Boorgub, you can see there are tears in his eyes, but he's also growing like blue and kind of choking a bit.
I guess she's just gonna let that go on. I mean, he's not gonna get in between those two. I mean, you know, and besides, if it is a facsimile or whatever of Boorgub, then you won't have to worry about it in a couple seconds. So,
what?
yeah, because she'll have squeezed him to death already. So, be fine.
On that note, on that note, Osla, you feel like green hands patting on your back, like Osla, I can't breathe.
Sorry. And she pulls off him and just like sort of like sits back across from him. sorry, a little excited. Sorry. Are you okay? I didn't break you.
He takes a moment to get his breath back, and then blinks, looking back up at you, Osla. And he's quiet for a moment before his eyes look over at Gesh behind him, and then Dhuur'in and Fenkin, and Opportunity Knox, who's not currently with us right now, but is with us in spirit. Okay, Finn didn't die. I mean,
I swear to God. the memorial service.
Finn, if you're rewatching this, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insinuate you were
Rest in
dead on
peace.
live air. In any case, though, as Boorgub's eyes drift to all of you, they finally fall back onto Osla. And he quivers for a moment. His bottom lip starts to shake. And as his big eyes start to well with even more tears, Osla, you watch as his face kind of starts to shrink up a little bit. And he very gingerly reaches up to put his hands on your shoulder. The familiar warmth that you remember from him is still there. That aura of furnace fire around him. And in a choking voice, you hear him say, "I thought you were dead."
Sorry. Oz. She her hand goes up to her shoulder even, and like sort of like hold it for a second, and much gentler than she ever has really been with anyone before. She sort of like closes the distance and puts her arms around him again. And as she presses her head into the space between his neck and his shoulder, she says, "I'm sorry we left you behind. It's not going to happen again."
His arms fall around you and he squeezes you as hard as he possibly can as he just buries his little green face into the nook of your shoulder and just openly weeping and shaking as he holds you.
She's going to rub his back. Try and be as comforting as she can possibly be. And that probably includes her just like fully like on his back.
There's as this goblin and this halfling kind of like cry in front of all of you, you let them have this little moment of theirs before Bertha steps up and says, "Have I missed something?"
A lot.
She blinks and then looks at Boorgub and she says, "Well, what did you do to my delivery boy?"
He was kidnapped from us 2 years ago. I wonder how he survived.
I'm going to go get some dresses. I'll be right back. And you watch as she kind of like steps away from you and kind of back towards her office. Eventually, though, Boorgub kind of gets himself together and kind of like wipes his eyes with his sleeves as he looks at you, Aslan. He says, I knew you would be back. I knew you'd find your way back. I mean, for a while I didn't think, Osla."
It's okay. It was hard. It was really hard to get back here, but we tried our best. I'm sorry we took so long.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just so glad you're back. And you can see that now that he's a bit closer, the 2 years have not done much to change Boorgub. He still seems to be the same goblin that you've seen before, hairless entirely, of course. But he also seems to have accrued a something of a pink scar that kind of comes down here and ends nearish the lip.
Oz is gonna reach forwards and just like sort of run her thumb across the side of the scar. And
He'll lean into the touch.
I'm not a hopeless romantic, but what the fuck are you doing? Oh god. But yeah, she just sort of like thumbs across like the scar and she goes, I don't know how you got here. What happened after we left?
Oh, that's the best part. And before he can say anything, there's a knock at the door.
Alright.
Hmm.
Is anyone
My
going
hand
to
reflexively goes to my gun.
I guess.
Gash turns away from the heartwarming display to go see who's just knocked.
All right. So as you turn to open the door, you once again open to the muffled sounds of rainwater to become real as they pitter and patter on the flagstone outside. And as soon as you open it, pretty much pushing like past you and kind of under your big muscly arm, a voice comes out from a lanky figure covered in a burlap hood, and it says, "Little one, why does it take you so long to be delivering these buttons?" And you watch as a pair of paws come up to take a hood off of the head and reveals the face of Midnight the Tabaxi.
I knew it.
There is
Okay. Can I instantly go to just smack this guy in the back of the head?
Please.
My hand is on my gun.
For once, I am all for this.
Oh my god. Sure.
on site.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna smack this guy in the back of the head. Just
Roll
Give
anything.
me an attack roll, d20.
okay.
While Dash attacks, can I just draw the gun? I don't want to fire yet.
You can, yes.
It's out.
Always up.
Everyone's just like, the fuck?
You can roll an advantage because he's like smacking the back of his head. You can't see him.
I imagine, like, you know the caveman meme? With the caveman?
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah, that's 24.
24. Okay, so that's gonna hit.
Midnight Sweet Prince.
So as Midnight opens his mouth to say something else, but before that, there's like a chop on the back of his neck that just like, ugh, and he kind of topples to the ground, kind of like catching himself on the floorboards before he falls completely. And in this same moment, flash! The handful of dawn comes out, gleaming in the light of the store. As does Fenkin's bow, which tightens as he knocks an arrow and points it straight at Midnight. I'm assuming. Would I be correct in that assumption?
Yes.
Cool.
I'm not aiming at Dash, I'm aiming at Midnight.
But once the weapons are out and Boorgub sees them out, he jumps up and says, "Wait! No! Please, don't hurt him!
Yeah, Gesh puts his staff down at the back of this guy's neck, so Midnight can't just stand right back up. So he's pressing it down. He looks over at Boorgub and goes, "And why should we do that?"
He's not what you think. I promise. Please, just everybody put the weapons away, please. Also,
He
tell them
threw
something."
us into the Feywild. What exactly makes you trust him?
And Boorgub kind of looks at Midnight, who's still kind of like grunting and kind of eyes tightly wound shut with the back of this the back of the quarterstaff in the back of his neck, and he's like, and Boorgub finally looks up and says, "Because he's helping goblins get out of the Empire and into Xorhas."
And he had to throw us into the Feywild for that?
Please, I'll explain everything. Just don't hurt him.
Can I roll an insight check?
Yes, you may roll an insight check.
And additionally, my detect magic is on. Would I be able to tell if Boorgub's under a spell effect?
You have detect magic on right now?
Yes. It's at
there are no magical incantations about Boorgub,
Oh,
save
God
for his
damn it.
own divine magics.
Okay, I'm still rolling insight.
I don't know why, I thought you were going to turn around and be like, he's my dad, or something like that.
12.
12. Okay, cool.
Can I also insight check?
You can also insight check. Does everybody just want to make an insight check?
Sure.
Let's everybody make an insight check.
Okay.
I believe Boorgub. I believe in him. Not because I'm in love with him, but because I'm in love with him.
Yeah, ignore me. It's not gonna happen.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, yeah, I got this. I got the same as Vinn.
12.
Yeah.
That's not bad for me.
God damn it.
We're just so gullible.
We're awful at this.
Can Nox make one, please? Please.
Sure, yeah, I'll make one for Nox.
Do you have
What's Nox's insight modifier? I'm sure it's insane.
I believe it's a +6.
Yeah, not for the whole party by
Well-
herself.
Well, she rolled a natural 20, so I'll tell you all this. In the little time that you have known Boorgub, you know that he's very much somebody who wears his emotions on his sleeves, though he doesn't like to bother other people with those problems of his. In any case, this is Boorgub, being genuine, being honest, begging you to put the weapons down.
I'll lower the handful of Dawn. I'm not holstering it.
But does Nox say anything? Since we don't see this.
Connor can't roleplay for Nox, but
Yeah.
we can assume that she would relay the information to us in a very sassy way.
Alright, then Fenkin is gonna slower lower his bow, but very reluctantly, and you're gonna be able to see that there's a lot of suspicion in his eyes.
Okay, so Gesh takes his staff off and puts it away before kneeling down and grabbing him by scruffing of his clothes collar thing, whatever, just pulling him up into a standing position.
And as you pull Midnight up like a naughty cat, he kind of like looks up at you and says, "You are a rough one then, yes?"
Oh, I can be a lot rough, but you don't want to know that.
But as Boorgub sees the weapons getting lowered, he kind of breathes a sigh of relief, and he looks at you all and he says, We'll explain everything. We will, I promise. Let's just... Mr. Midnight, what do you think?" And Midnight kind of tapping you on the hand to like signify, "Hey, put me down real quick."
Just drops him.
You drop Midnight, and he lands on his paws and just kind of like cracks his neck like. And it's at this point you can see he also retrieves his staff from the ground, which has those like metal rings around a kind of like a main loop at the top, and he taps it and he says, "Now then, I suppose you have all forgotten your manners in the Feywild, so I will forgive you for that."
Manners? You forgot your manners when you threw us in there.
I had to know I could trust you. And I can, now that I see that...
How does that... That doesn't...
How
would that
Boorgub-
prove anything?
Boorgub waves his hand and he says, Mr. Midnight doesn't actually mean that. He's just, and he kind of like looks at Midnight, and you can see there's a bit of like respect, but also frustration there. And he sighs and he says, he has an unorthodox way of doing things. And when he kidnapped me, he was worried that having too many people with one goblin was going to look suspicious. They didn't want to risk anything, even if we were outside the Empire's borders, until we were in Xorhas. And he's also kind of an asshole.
Yes, I've realized that.
If I remember, he was paid to keep us from our destination.
That I was. That I was. In fact, by the folk who are looking for you, little Miss Highhill.
Seems there's a lot of those.
So be glad that I threw them off your trail instead. I took the money, put you in the Feywild, a place where the drowned could not find you, and that was that. I knew you'd make your way back.
No,
3 years
no,
later.
you didn't.
In any case, I am glad to see that you all did. And he walks over to Ozla again, and kind of without warning, reaches out to like touch your face. And he cocks his head before he realizes what he's doing. Turns red and steps back, and he says, "Sorry, it's been a while. I didn't.
You got touched when I saw you.
I got lonely."
Aww. I'm about to cry.
Fenton takes a step forward, slightly with a warning look on his face as he looks at Boorgub, but he doesn't say anything.
Mr. Fenkin, you started dressing different. I mean, it looks very nice. It looks very. I just didn't you have a green dress before?
He cocks an eyebrow at him, and he looks the exact opposite of amused. He just glares at him, and he still doesn't say anything.
Right, good to see you. And he kind of backs away into Dhuur'in and looks up at you, kind of like,
Hello.
"Hi." And he turns and steps back and says, "That's different."
Very.
Huh. It looks like you did get to talk to your god. What did he say?
The god that I had when you were with me never spoke. I got a new one.
Well, sometimes a change of pace is all we really need, right? And he turns to look at Gesh and he says, "Mr. Gesh." And realizing you look entirely the same, he's just like, It's really good to see you too, sir." And he walks over and sticks out a hand to shake.
Come on.
Gesh does nothing.
Come on.
Sure, it's all right to see you. He shakes his hand and it'll just fling it back.
It's your hand is like huge around his. So like you actually
he shakes his arm a little and then
Breaks his
Just
shoulder.
one hand is going to encompass the entirety of Boorgub's arm.
Maybe he just let claw out. It's like, hello. Just one claw.
And Boorgub turns back to Ozla and says, "Ozla, you won't believe what I've been working on while you've been gone. You won't believe it. It's Mr. Midnight and everybody else has been helping me, and we have so many great ideas. You're gonna be amazed." And it's at this point Midnight puts his hand on his bald little head and steps forward and says, perhaps you should not be talking about this in the daylight, as it says. And Boorgub nods and says, oh, right, yeah, we should wait until we get back to the headquarters, yeah. And Midnight nods and says, very well. And kind of turns to look at you all and says, so, we are forgiven, yes?
No.
No. Absolutely not.
Some people just do not understand greatness when they see it. Very well.
Greatness. You're about as great as a puddle. Don't push it.
And he turns to point at you and he says, I kept the cult off your trail for 2 entire years. And as soon as...
No, you threw us into a place that was able to throw them off for 2 years. You did not calculate this out.
Tomato, tomato, potato, potato.
These walls are not strong enough to stop me from throwing you through them.
I would like to see you try, big man. And before anything can happen, Boorgub runs between you two and he's like, no, this is not helping, please don't.
You're lucky that this little one cares.
He is kind of an asshole, and yeah, the way he does things is a little, I mean, unorthodox, sure, but he really does mean well in his own weird way, I guess. And another voice overtakes from behind you, Gesh, as Karn says, and he has my trust as well. And looming from under the doorway comes Karn, or Captain Karn, as he is known now, of the guard in Port Zune. And he lumbers in, taking his own hood off his head before he says, I was wondering what was taking you all so long. And then I am seeing the little green one and Mr. Midnight here making their way inside. I figured, knowing you all, there would be something of a... what's the word that you told me the other day, Boorgub? Kerfuffle, sir. Yes, kerfuffle.
Now I will holster my gun.
Which one?
Whoa! Can we just talk about how M just delivered a top-tier joke? Like, the timing, the silver whip timing, that was amazing.
She's built like that.
This
My
is
glowing gun, not the abyssal ebony black gun. Thank you.
I should lay off the painkillers for a while.
You know, every time I upload to YouTube, it shows me this little box that says you have to pick one or two. Was this video made for kids or was it not made for kids? And every time I'm just like, no. But it's about D&D. No. As Karn steps in, he puts a huge hand on Gesh's shoulder and gives him kind of like a brotherly, like, you know, little shake. And he kind of looms in and says, but in any case, Mr. Midnight is correct. We cannot be having this conversation here. It's time we all let you in on the little secret. Follow me. And with that, he turns and Boorgub quickly starts like scooping the buttons back into a box and like puts it on the counter and then runs back and kind of like Ozla takes your hand and like kind of like an excited kid pulls you towards Karn.
I'm dragging. I was gonna help with the buttons, but take me anywhere he wants.
Goodbye, Bertha.
So I'm assuming you're all
some money on the table.
yeah. With the payment going through and everybody kind of collecting all the items they wanted to buy, this intrepid group of adventurers plus 2 animals, it would seem, make their way out of the building, and Karn leads you into the rain. Eventually, though, he leads you down towards the dockward areas of Port Zune, and you can see the Black Seas kind of roiling and thrashing in the storm that is kicked up in the time that's taken you to walk from the shop to this particular area of the city. And the dock itself is kind of like this small cliff face that peers out over the water, and you watch as Karn approaches the cliffside and kind of like looks to the left and looks to the right, then turns, crouches, and starts like pushing branches and bushes aside, revealing what appears to be wooden steps down the cliff face.
Ooh, spicy.
He looks at everybody and says, "Hold on to the rock, like we did during the mountains, eh?"
Easy enough.
All right. Are you all going down the stairs?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
We have to make a strength check.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Okay. Give me a strength check.
God damn it.
Actually, make it
use-
athletics. This seems more athletics.
That's me. Why? I mean, it's okay, but like, oh, I thought that was a 2.
God damn it.
Okay. I got 10.
So, like,
I got 5.
okay. So, like a Bleach character, kind of like stepping on natural like footholds of reishi in the air, you guys watch as totally ignoring the steps and like sticking his hands in his pockets like a JoJo character. Dhuur'in starts walking through the air down towards the steps, and Karn, who's already kind of like holding onto the wall, kind of like looks at him go, and he says, "That is new. I am liking that."
Thank you.
And he looks back at the rest of you and says, "Come on." And as the climb begins, Gesh, you find that with your scaly hands, it's kind of like hard to hold on to how wet the rock is, and you do find yourself like slipping every now and then. But eventually, you are able to really dig yourself in with the help of your talons, and just kind of stick to the wall while you make your way down. You, unfortunately, are the slowest of the lot and take quite a while to get to everybody. But eventually, it does lead to a kind of lip of rock that juts out from the cliffside. And on that lip, there's like green grass that you all kind of step on. And on the cliff face, kind of like facing out from the water, there appears to be a wooden door. Karn brings a great green finger up to his lips and does this at all of you before he steps towards the door and knocks on it 4 times. And a voice calls from the inside. "What color is the future?" And Karn replies, "The future is silver." And with that, the door opens. And out steps what appears to be a very gnarly old hobgoblin, dressed in kind of like blackish rags that are held together by rope. His a kind of bleached human, or what you assume is a human skull, kind of like hangs from the crook of his staff that he leans on, and he's very hunched, very wiry. His face, like Boorgub's, is totally devoid of hair, and he steps forward wearing only like cloth on his gnarled feet. And he says, "Ah, Khan, good to see you, Mr. Midnight, Mr. Boorgub. Wonderful to see you all. And it would seem you brought some new friends. Do they also seek passage on the Silver Caravan?" It's at this point, Karn shakes his head and he says, "No, they are here to provide assistance, and I'm sure they will agree once they see our operation." The hobgoblin nods and says, "Good, good," and he kind of approaches you all, sort of like looking you up and down, and you guys kind of see there's like a natural shake to him as he like looks at you guys, almost like a chihuahua, a very tense chihuahua, before he finally taps his staff on the ground and says, "Yes, very well. Oh, the muscly one is going to be a lot of help. We're going to need some crates moved around, I think. Yes, yes. I think they'll do just fine. We can trust them, yes?" And Boorgub nods his head and he says, "Oh, yes, yes, absolutely." "Good, good. In any case, Tinamias is my name.
Hmm?
Tinam Tinamias, dear.
Sorry, I'm a bit hard of hearing. You're a bit.
My full name, of course, is Tinamias the Maggot King of the Circle of the Five Black Necromancers.
Oh.
I'm told you've already met an associate of mine, a Mr. Snitch Skullbelly."
Oh.
Yes, we yes, yes, we have.
"Indeed. Apologies for that. A bit of a handful he is. We love having him on the council. He has many great ideas, but he's ambitious and tends to go off on his own to try and prove some greater power. In any case, why don't you come inside from the rain?"
I'm still floating a foot off the ground.
I mean, you still didn't hit my rain.
Well, I'm gonna float.
He looks at you and
Doesn't
says,
negate
"Oh."
the rain.
He looks at you and says, "Oh, I can do that too." And he taps his staff on the ground, and you watch as the skin on his face peels away to reveal a dead skull. As his like arm, the same thing happens to his arms and his legs, the skin just sloughing away into smoke. And you hear a cackling sound as like this kind of like crypt gas version of him like levitates into the air, disappears into smoke, and then just whoom, right into the door, and down into whatever room is behind this particular wooden door on the cliff face. And
I clap with amusement. Fenton shrieks.
Karn rubs his head and he says, "My apologies. The members of the five necromancers are all goblinoids, so of course they are here to help with the operations, but most of them are quite mad."
So, just one question.
Hmm.
Why did you bring us down here? I assume you want us to help with this whole operation, but you know
He
this
reaches
high
out.
hill.
He reaches out, thumb on the bottom half of your jaw, four fingers on the top half, and just closes your snout. And he says, "Let me show you." And he walks into the door and disappears into the darkness.
Fenton laughs. Like this. He laughs and makes fun of Gesh, like, and then he walks past.
I guess you're just glaring back as a thinking before, walking in.
All right. So is everybody going inside? All right. So, as you guys make your way into the doorway, the temperature almost immediately changes. Where it was almost so chilling and wet outside, to the point where you could not feel the tips of your fingers, warmth, unlike anything you've ever felt, washes over you as you step through the doorway and into the hollowed out cliff face, which looks like the interior of some massive mead hole. Indeed, yes. Orangish acacia wood lines the entire area in fine slats, beautifully constructed. It's almost as if the inside of a boat has been turned upside down and made into its own kind of massive living space. Candles float through the air along with lanterns and other lighting equipment, just to kind of bring illumination as they duck and weave among the rafters. But that's not the most compelling part about this entire place. As you look inside, across the tables that stretch from one end of the room to the other, to the barren spots of wood where some groups have laid down blankets and set their belongings, there seem to be hundreds upon hundreds of goblinoids here. You see bugbears of all sizes, hobgoblins, regular goblins, orange ones, red ones, green ones, blue ones. There's a menagerie of goblins here. You see a few frost goblins who are native to more of the northern Tal'Darai in their their thickened furs. You see goblin children running around while their mothers try to collect them and bring them back to the group. And you also see them all working together in tandem. You see a bugbear and a half goblin kind of working together to get a window repaired, and you also see some goblins cooking on a big fireplace kind of near the center of the room on kind of this big slat of black slate over a fire. And it's at this point Karn steps forward and says, "Welcome, my friends, to the Silver Caravan."
Gersh walks up to him, puts a hand on his shoulder. You've just gotten all these people killed.
And how is that?
You let Osla in here. She is being tracked by the Drow. You should not let her or any of us here. They are ridiculous in how quickly they can find her, or whoever is working for her. There's no way for us to stop them. We were going to try and...
Sorry, go ahead.
We were going to try to deal with it before midnight drew us into the Feywilds. So, no matter how impressive this is, how much courage and nobility it takes you to help all these people, you've just thrown them all away because of what you've done. So we should leave right now so these people don't get hurt. Or you're just going to keep putting these people in danger.
I appreciate your worry, my friend, but the Drow have been accounted for. And it's at this point the smoky form kind of that's been kind of circling in the air kind of touches back down, and once again the hobgoblin, the scraggly old hobgoblin, stands before you with all of his skin, and he says, Indeed. This entire area has been, how you say, magically protected. The only people who can see and access the steps are people that I want to see and access the steps. Anybody who opens the door who is not within our own ranks will find themselves, how you say, a bit indisposed, yes.
Does that include Mr. Skullbelly? Or do you even know how to fight the drowned? Or whatever the hell else they think they call themselves?
Let me put it this way, my friend. If you had come through that door with any ill intentions in mind, you would have been vaporized on the spot, atom by atom.
Oh, do forgive me for not completely trusting all this magic. Because the last time you fought someone of your order, we practically turned them into paste. So,
It's at this point you hear, "What did you just say about me, Dragonborn?" And as you all turn around, Snitch Skullbelly devoid of hat but still in his ostentatious robes, carrying what appears to be a crate of bread, immediately drops it and kind of like stands there with his arms out at his side, red in the face, as he snarls at you and says, "Why don't you say that again?"
Okay, I'll say that again, you little piece of shit. We practically turned you to paste the last time we fought.
Ah! And he starts running towards you. It's at this point though, Karn like puts out a hand and like pops him by the head, and he keeps running and keeps swinging. But Karn turns to you and says, "I understand that you are having a past beef with this one, yes?"
Well, you could say that, or you could say we completely humiliated him. I think that's more accurate.
I see. And Karn picks him up by the head, kind of holding him there, and he turns he turns Snitch to look at him and he says, "Let's go through our affirmations." And Snitch kind of rolls his eyes, and they both at the same time say, "I am no longer an evil person. I'm no longer an evil person. My past does not define me. My past does not define me. I can always be better. I can always be better."
Wow.
Finn just gapes. He's just awestruck at what the hell is going on in front of him.
So he will not be raising the dead outside of Zadash anymore?
"Oh, I'll raise the dead wherever I damn well please." And he starts like, Karn tightens his fingers and he goes, "Oh, ah, oh, oh." And Karn looks at him and says, "He is still practicing his necromantic arts, as most of his order do. But this time it will be in service to the goals of the Silver Caravan."
Okay.
And Tinemea steps forth and says, "The Silver Caravan is actually something that young Midnight over here cooked up." And Midnight waves at you, kind of glamorously, and before Tinemea continues and says, "As you know, goblins don't exactly have a good reputation in the Empire. The Dwendalians would rather see us dead on the spot for thinking us monsters, and I think that's entirely incorrect. Don't you agree?" And as he starts laughing, like his face reverts from living to like dead, living to dead. Before he calms down, and says, "In any case, the Silver Caravan was designed to help goblin refugees make their way to Xorhas by way of Port Dhuur'in. As you can see, we've accumulated quite a few families who seek to escape the persecutions of the Empire."
You should spread these out. There's too many in one place.
"We've tried our best to secure as many places as we can, safe houses, if you will, which are scattered all throughout Port Dhuur'in. But you understand, there are a few agents of the Empire who have gotten wind of our organization. Which is why it was quite lucky that we stumbled upon Mr. Boorgub, who has found a means of getting all the refugees from Port Dhuur'in into Xorhas in a single night." And it's at this point Boorgub kind of like rubs the back of his head, still blushing.
Is it more portals?
Midnight Nuts said, "No portals this time. I'm done having my fun with you after all."
Turns around, Boorgub, and she goes, "What did you do?"
"Do you want to see it?"
Of course.
"Alright, everybody come on." And at this point, Boorgub starts running down into the mead hall, kind of like past the refugees who are just kind of like living throughout this this mead hall. Are you guys following him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alcohol's checking people's faces though she walks past. It's like,
Okay.
oh, no. Sorry.
A lot of the goblins are like, they stop what they're doing and just stare in awe as you walk past. Because unbeknownst to you guys, Boorgub has been telling your tales to these people as a means of keeping morale up. And seeing you walking among them is quite amazing, though some of them do regard you with a bit of suspicion, which is understandable given their plight. As they walk past Gesh, a bugbear kind of like bumps into you with his shoulder and kind of like snarls as he walks past.
Yeah, and Gesh puts out his middle finger at the thing before, as he walks past, and then keeps walking.
It's at this point, Karn and Tinemeus are following you as well, and Karn kind of saddles up beside Dhuur'in and says, "You told me I would find purpose beyond the mountains. What do you think of the purpose I found?"
I think you did a very good job.
It is good to see you, little one. And it is,
on his arm.
and it's good to see you took my advice.
I did.
Good. You're going to need it. And at this point, leading you guys past the kind of cooking area, which smells delightful, where you see a lot of goblin style dishes being prepared. You've noticed that, like, in goblin culture here in Exandria, or perhaps this is just kind of like something that's been shared by goblins throughout the country, is the idea of all food being prepared on one big frying plate, almost like a Mongolian grill. And they're just kind of throwing whatever they want to throw on there. Some of them pull out like dried fish and kind of get it on the pile. Some of them do have kind of like a starchy wheat thing that looks like just kind of like tubes of wheat. But once they kind of take it over to a glass bowl that had been boiling on it, you watch as they throw it in and like they soften to form noodles. But as this cooking is going on, Boorgub leads you past that and towards a doorway in the northern wall, and he pulls that open and like rushes inside, where the wooden footsteps give way to metal ones.
Is the floor? Oh yeah, we're following.
Okay, cool.
Blindly. Let's go.
All right. So, as you step into this new room, all around you is metal railings, metal floors, and an enormous metal behemoth in what appears to be this massive kind of like warehouse complex thing. And this giant metal, words can't describe what you're looking at. It's cigar shaped and incredibly wide. It's made entirely of welded steel and iron, and there seems to be some kind of massive living dock compartment on the bottom where people are loading crates in and out. And as Boorgub like kind of puts his hand over the railing to look out at it, he steps back at you guys and smiles, brandishing an arm at the massive contraption, and says, "Meet the Sky Shepherd."
I could cry.
It does, yes. I invented it. I drew up the original designs with Mr. Midnight's help, and well, once we got the workforce and the labor that we needed and the materials, it was just, and he starts like motor mouthing off about like the different smithing techniques and what he needed to do and how it's also infused with magics and all that. But before Karn finally steps forward and interrupts, and it is going to save the entire goblin population of the Empire.
Oh.
Oz walks towards the railing and she sort of like hefts herself up onto it as much as she can, like look further down into where it like descends. And after like she's just stared in like complete awe, she looks at it and she, of course you built this. You're incredible, Boorgub.
Thank you. Do you guys want a tour?
Yes.
Great. You can also meet some of the people that are working with me who help make it. Yeah. Come on. And he rushes down these metal railing steps, and as you all follow, you make your way down to the hangar, which is a huge stone floor on the ground. And you can see smiths and cleric of the Allhammer, many of them from the working in secret from the Temple of Moradin, if their clothing and uniforms are to be of any hint of that. There's just hundreds of workers working on this massive metal blimp, essentially, using fire magics to weld things into place and casting enchantments on the already magical metal. And as you kind of walk from one end to the other, Boorgub explains that the idea was to load all the refugees onto the ship and fly them directly out of Port Zune into Xorhas. And fortunately for them, they've made the proper calculations, and Boorgub has pretty much spent his entire 2 years on this one project, making sure that everything was right, making sure that it could fly high enough so that they wouldn't be spotted or shot down, living conditions, everything. While you were in the Feywild surviving, and while you were on the ship as well, meeting out your own legends, it would seem that Boorgub has spent his time changing the face of Exandrian history. It's at this time, though, Boorgub leads you to a kind of group that are standing around a table with a light globe next to it that's kind of like illuminating this like big blueprint design thing on tart paper. And Boorgub brandishes an arm at them and says, and these are some of the other people that I've been working with to help me make the Sky Shepherd. There's Ileana and a Drow woman in kind of like mechanics overalls and clothing, kind of nods at you. She's wearing big gloves. She is a Drow, as I said, and her white hair is kind of tied back in a ponytail, and she kind of regards you all with silent resentment and kind of narrows eyes at you there, Dhuur'in, for a second before looking back at the chart. And Boorgub motions to a dwarf and says, "And this is Dwali. He's been helping with a lot of the metalcraft and everything." And the dwarf looks up. Kind of a middle-aged dwarf with kind of like a shock of hair that goes back, ending in a widow's peak. He's wearing a similar outfit to the Drow woman, and he looks up and nods, kind of like smiling at you. You can tell he's had a bit to drink because his nose is very red, but he seems very, very laser focused on what he's doing. And it's at this time a pixie flies into view from behind the Drow woman, who lands on the table, picks up a pen with both hands, and like circles something on the chart before flying up and back towards the Sky Shepherd. And Boorgub says, and that's Jinx. She's been helping us with a lot of the illusion magics that we're going to be needing.
I take a halfway step behind Karn. Just a little.
Duali says, "Aye, the lads had some good ideas. And if everything goes well, we're going to be up and flying here in 2 days."
Only 2 days?
Only 2 days, lass. He's quite a wicked smart one. And Boorgub nods again and blushes, turning away.
I was just nodding, and she's like, yeah, he really is.
Yeah, and, well, now that you're back, we were hoping that maybe you guys could help us with the project. The Silver Caravan would mean something to goblins all over the world. So, would you be willing to help us get it flying?
You don't even have to ask us.
We no. We shouldn't do this. We are putting all these people in danger by being here, Oz. And we are putting them even more. Because you have a whole cult who will kill everyone around us just to get to you. Do you not remember that entire town that was ravaged by those rat things just to find you?
You think we don't know that? Of course we know that.
Do you want the same thing to happen to all these people? Is that what you want?
No, that's not what I want.
Then we need to leave. All of us.
They said that it was protected. We can stay here. We can help. Right?
Karn once again nods and says, I know you are concerned, my friend, but we have 2 days and no more time left. We cannot move these people more than we already have.
Then to keep all of you safe, we should leave. And so you can all... I grant you good luck for this journey, and I hope everything goes well. But we can't stay here and put everyone else around us in even more danger than it's already happened. It's not right. It's not. We
came
should
here
go.
with a purpose. We came here to find those that Osla love.
Midnight brings up a paw and says, if I may interject.
What?
You all have come back from quite the experience. Why don't you just take a day to decide? Sit by the fireplace, get some food to eat, meet these fine people. I think you will arrive at the answer that is most appropriate for your intrepid group.
It might be best.
Well,
I think you're right, Gesh, but I do want to help these people. But we don't know when we'll be found again.
we will keep additional guards posted for the night. In the meantime, perhaps you should take Mr. Midnight's advice. Just take a load off for a while, and take the time to think amongst yourselves. We will reconvene in the morning. In any case, I have work that I must attend to. Shepherds, it's good to be seeing you again, as I said. And he nods at Midnight and says, make sure they get some rooms. And you watch as he waves his mechanical hand, turns, and makes his way back up the steps. And with that, we're going to take a 10-minute break.
What was the Drow woman's name again? Ileana?
Ileana, yes.
My laptop died halfway through. That was so annoying. You could just see like the light come down. I'm like, you bastard.
All right, so we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Right.